last year was a lot of nerves, a lot of like anxiety, being up all night, like throwing up from anxiety. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't handling it at all.
You aren't just a TikToker. You have over 60 million followers, and you become the most successful beauty-related content creator on the planet. And last year, were the 5th most viewed artist on TikTok in the UK. I mean, credit where credit is due. But your music career actually started when you were 9 years old, didn't it? I think you're going to need to share with the group, babes, what you did when you were 9.
What did I do when I was 9? Oh my God, where have you found this information?
Well, apparently, according to an article I read, apparently you shaved your head and uploaded a LaRue cover to Facebook.
Oh my God. I'd like blocked this from the depths of my memory. Yeah, when I was young, I was like in my little emo era, and had my hair fully shaved. Like on the one side it was shaved, and like the other side like this. I think my inspo was LaRue, and when Rihanna had that like era as well, I was going for that. And then I recorded this LaRue cover and put it on Facebook, and everyone was like just taking the piss, you know, like all my school friends saw it, and I was like, oh shit, like I need to delete this immediately. So that put me off for a while.
You definitely use your music to talk about so many issues that we all deal with, and including Video Girl, which is all about social media and the pressures it puts us under. What pressures do you think social media has put you under?
I think it's definitely shaped me into the person that I am, and how I think about things and how I think about doing things for myself. I feel like I always consider like how other people are going to view that. Like if I'm changing my hair, I'm like, are people going to like this? Are people going to unfollow me for this? Like it's just always like kind of ingrained in the back of my mind now, in the way that I'm perceived and how I portray myself, I think. And I've just been so used to like so many years of good comments, but also negative comments. Like even on my first video at 11 years old, there were so many negative comments I had to like completely turn the comments off, and that really affected me when I was young, I think. Because you just don't get that. Like there's people hiding behind a screen. Like nobody would ever say that to you in everyday life. So that was definitely something for me to overcome. But I think I've got a much more like thicker skin when it comes to hate comments these days, just because I've like dealt with it for so many years now.
One of the interesting things about social media is so many people can fall into the trap of defining their worth through followers and likes. Have you ever fallen into that trap?
100%. Like when TikTok was first blowing up, and now I was getting like 1 million followers a month, I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And I think it gives you such a sense of self-worth, like you said. You're like, oh my God, it's just such an exciting feeling. Like it's such an adrenaline rush when you're seeing the numbers like just absolutely spike up and go out of control. But I think I've kind of definitely had to overcome that in like the previous year or so, since like transitioning into music. I knew that I would lose some of my followers because of that. Like certain people just followed me specifically for makeup, and if I'm not doing as much of that as I used to anymore, definitely a few people are not going to be like interested. And I did like lose some followers from that, and I had to kind of just like overcome that and not feel like I'm any less of a person or any less worthy because I've lost some followers. Like the people who really appreciate me are still there. There are real people like behind that number, and yeah, I don't really care as much about it anymore. I'll be turning my likes off on Instagram.
Is that how you've learned to navigate the highs and lows of it? By finding a worth in something that isn't so external?
Yeah, I think now I'm much more happy like in my personal life as well. So that's definitely helped me to like find value outside of social media.
On this series, we've been talking a lot about mental health and our well-being. And I just wanted to know, what has your journey with mental health looked like?
Mental health is always something that I've been vocal about and that I've like kind of struggled with over the years. I think I found school like a very hard time because I just felt like completely alienated from the rest of my peers, and like I was doing something so completely different and just did not feel like I fitted in at all, and dealt with like bullying throughout school, and that had like a big knock on my confidence, and I never felt like I was like able to achieve these things that I wanted to achieve. And then I think social media came along and everything just happened so drastically and my life changed so quickly, and that had kind of a negative effect on my mental health. I just went from like being in school, doing my A levels, and now I'm like working for myself, doing all these crazy things and all these crazy opportunities. And yeah, that impacted me negatively for sure, because I didn't know how to cope with that. Like everything was so different. But I think I've really managed to come to terms with that over the past few years, and like settle into myself, and I feel like I'm in such a better place mentally now. That I've kind of got into the groove of things.
What's helped you and what hasn't helped you look after your mental health?
I think what I struggled with really was like social anxiety. I found that really hard about like going to events and stuff off the back of social media. And I think what helped me honestly the most was like exposure therapy, like exposing myself to these situations that I was so not used to. And it was honestly just like years of going to events and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone that helped me like build up this confidence to like now go and do these things. But that was something that I really struggled with because I was such like an introverted child, like filming everything from my bedroom and just being creative at home. That's like very who I am to the core, and like going out and meeting all these people and being in these like high pressure situations and like doing panels and speaking publicly, that was very hard for me, and like the anxiety that surrounded that was difficult. But I think after like doing so much of it, I feel like I've like gained a confidence from that for sure.
Because social anxiety can be really debilitating and it can really affect so many different aspects of your life. When was your social anxiety at its worst, do you think?
When I first started like getting recognized in public, because that was just like so out of the ordinary. I was like, that I did not expect that. And the first time it happened, I was like going to this meet and greet, somebody else's meet and greet, and like 10,000 people showed up. And I think our fan bases were quite similar. And so a lot of these people recognized me for the first time. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is so overwhelming. Like, I'm not used to like speaking to anyone, and now all these people are speaking to me. And that was quite nerve wracking. But I think I definitely feel more like I'm friends with people. These people are my friends. Like, they follow me for a reason. And like I'm not worried about that anymore. But that was just like quite a like shock.
Someone's listening to this and they've experienced social anxiety. What advice would you want to give to them?
I know it's like the scariest thing in the world, but making those little steps and like pushing yourself to be in those social situations is just like so beneficial. And I know it's like the absolute last thing that you want to do when you're in that situation, because that is the thing that triggers your anxiety. But I think the more times you do it, the more you get used to it and know that it's like way less scary than your brain is making it out to be.
And that comes with having a better relationship with yourself too, right?
Yeah, totally. I think I was very like not happy in myself and not confident in who I was as a person when I was like struggling the most with my anxiety as well, and like didn't really know who I was and how I wanted to even just like how to dress and like how what made me feel comfortable and confident, you know what I mean? And I think finding yourself in that way can really help too.
Oh my God, 100%. And I think it's so difficult because I went through bullying when I was at school, and it can really like erode your personality, and it can be very difficult, and you kind of carry that with you in some ways the rest of your life. And sometimes I've started to see it, the way I started to process it more was when I started to use it as fuel to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I can show you what I can do. If you could address the people who bullied you, who made you feel like things were not possible, what would you want to say?
Look at me now. That's what I would say.
Yes, babes, that is it.
Literally, that is it. It's the girls who bullied me in school who are like asking me if I want to do their makeup now. And absolutely not.
AKA.
Exactly.
Oh my God, babes. I literally love that. And like, it must be when you sit here today and you think back to that you who had all those anxieties, who was being bullied, and you're now sitting here as an incredibly accomplished musician. You have millions and millions of followers on TikTok and across social media. What would you want to say to that girl now if you could sit down with her on this podcast?
Have confidence in yourself, because you can achieve literally anything that you put your mind to. It doesn't matter where you started out, where life takes you, how old you are. Like, if you want to start something new at any point, you absolutely can do, and don't let people tell you that that's not possible because you weren't doing it from a certain age or whatever. Anything you want to do is absolutely possible if you believe in yourself, and it's only your own self-doubt that's going to like prevent you from getting there.
Babes, you're living proof of that.